Reclassing an instance in Python. I have a class that is provided to me by an external library. I have created a subclass of this class. I also have an instance of the original class. I now want to turn this instance into an instance of my subclass without changing any properties that the instance already has, except for those that my subclass overrides anyway. The following solution seems to work. However, I'm not convinced that this solution doesn't contain any caveats I haven't thought of. Sorry for the triple negation, especially because reassigning the magical underscore class underscore just doesn't feel right. Even if this works, I can't help the feeling there should be a more Pythonic way of doing this. Is there? Edit. Thanks everyone for your answers. Here is what I get from them. Although the idea of reclassing an instance by assigning to underscore class underscore is not a widely used idiom, most answers, 4 out of 6 at the time of writing, consider it a valid approach. One answer, by Odrak, says that it's pretty weird at first glance, with which I agree. It was the reason for asking the question. Only one answer, by Jason Baker, with 2 positive comments and votes, actively discouraged me from doing this, however doing so based on the example use case more so than on the technique in general. None of the answers, whether positive or not, finds an actual technical problem in this method. A small exception is JLS, who mentions to beware of old-style classes, which is likely true, and C extensions. I suppose that new-style class-aware C extensions should be as fine with this method as Python itself, presuming the latter is true, although if you disagree, keep the answers coming. As to the question of how Pythonic this is, there were a few positive answers, but no real reasons given. Looking at the Zen import this, I guess the most important rule in this case is explicit is better than implicit. I'm not sure, though, whether that rule speaks for or against reclassing this way. Using has get setter to seems more explicit, as we are explicitly making our changes to the object instead of using magic. Using underscore class underscore equals new class seems more explicit because we explicitly say, this is now an object of class new class, expect a different behavior instead of silently changing attributes but leaving users of the object believing they are dealing with a regular object of the old class. Summing up, from a technical standpoint, the method seems okay. The Pythonicity question remains unanswered with a bias towards yes. I have accepted Martin Geisler's answer, because the Mercurial plugin example is a quite strong one, and also because it answered a question I even hadn't asked myself yet. However, if there are any arguments on the Pythonicity question, I'd still like to hear them. That's all so far. Here's the actual use case: is a UI data control object that needs to grow additional functionality at runtime. However, the question is meant to be very general.
Reclassing instances like this is done in Mercurial.
A distributed revision control system, when extensions, plugins, want to change the object that represent the local repository. The object is called repo and is initially a local repo instance. It is passed to each extension in turn and, when needed, extensions will define a new class which is a subclass of repo._class_ and change the class of repo to this new subclass. It looks like this in code. The extension, I took the code from the bookmarks extension, defines a module-level function called repo_setup. Mercurial will call this when initializing the extension and pass a UI, user interface, and repo, repository, argument. The function then defines a subclass of whatever class repo happens to be. It would not suffice to simply subclass local repo since extensions need to be able to extend each other. So if the first extension changes, repo._class_ to foo_repo, the next extension should change, repo._class_ to a subclass of foo_repo and not just a subclass of local repo. Finally, the function changes the instanceos class, just like you did in your code. I hope this code can show a legitimate use of this language feature. I think it's the only place where I've seen it used in the wild.
I'm not sure that the use of inheritance is best in this case, at least with regards to reclassing. It seems like you're on the right track, but it sounds like composition or aggregation would be best for this. Here's an example of what I'm thinking of, in untested, sudo-esque code. You may have to read more about sets and arbitrary argument lists if you aren't familiar with them to get this example.
This is fine. I've used this idiom plenty of times. One thing to keep in mind though is that this idea doesn't play well with old-style classes and various C extensions. Normally this wouldn't be an issue, but since you are using an external library, you'll just have to make sure you're not dealing with any old-style classes or C extensions.
The state pattern allows an object to alter its behavior when its internal state changes. The object will appear to change its class. Head first design pattern. Something very similar write gamma et.al. in their design patterns book. I have it at my other place, so no quote. I think that's the whole point of this design pattern. But if I can change the class of an object at runtime, most of the time I don't need the pattern. There are cases when state pattern does more than simulate a class change. Also, changing class at runtime doesn't always work. Apart from that, I consider changing class at runtime Pythonic and use it from time to time.
you want to see more, please consider subscribing.